Hi, we're back with Jerry Evans again. I'm enjoying talking with Jerry Evans. He has a lot of great points, a lot of great views. I suggest everybody needs to share this podcast everywhere. Continue, Jerry Evans. Now, Jerry Evans, we were talking about Obama and this Obamacare that affected the many Americans' jobs that were working full-time, middle class. They got switched to part-time. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think a number of things that I would tell you in regards to Obamacare. So if I would go ahead and start with, I think the essence of Obamacare, I want to tell you this. I'm a small businessman. And by the way, Tanya, again, thanks again for having me on your program. It's an honor to be here. Thanks so much for taking time and allowing me to be here. And it's also great to be with all of you listeners. And what I would say, Tanya, is that if I'm a small business owner, I've been at a music school that I started from scratch, as well as a commercial property and a salon and a wife and a son. And whenever I see problems in my business that has multiple components, you don't just solve one component and then hope that the other problems go away, right?
Yes.
You don't just ignore them, right? You got to actually deal with all of them. And when you look at Obama, you see, hey, you know what? There are some good things. There are protections for pre-existing conditions. And there are some good things in there, but there are a lot of problems with it. There are a lot of problems that hurt people. So think about anything negative about Obamacare. Think about anything negative you've experienced, and that's a problem. We need to change that and get rid of those problems. And so, when we had Obamacare implemented, there were so many red tape policies. There are so many policies that made it harder for doctors to provide good care. There are so many policies that made it harder for prices to stay low, but instead prices skyrocketed and made it more difficult for individuals to go ahead and experience the health care that they need and purchase the health care that they needed. And as well as drug prices skyrocketed. Deductibles have been rising. Your ability to see specific health professionals can be more difficult. I remember when Obamacare was implemented, all of a sudden I remember sometimes the wait times to see specific people began to increase that I experienced, and I think that was a problem. In addition to that, another problem was that I have a student at my school whose parent is an amazing heart doctor, and this amazing heart doctor had a great private practice with some other partners, and it was a smaller practice. And then Obamacare was implemented, 2012, 2013, and 2014, so on and so forth. It was implemented, and all of a sudden, her and her other partners realized that their small practice just simply could not exist anymore. It just was not possible. There's too much red tape. There were too many challenges. There were too many other things getting in the way, and they literally had to sell their practice to a big company. Think about that for a second. When Obama said, hey, you can keep your doctor, you can keep this.
He lied.
You can keep your insurance. Unfortunately, Obamacare did not actually bring that. And in one sense, you got to say, hey, Obama and Obamacare did not deliver the goods. If we could use maybe a fun phrase to accomplish a point there. And it just didn't accomplish what needed to happen. And what we need to be focusing on is the fact that Obamacare has a lot of problems that need to be fixed. And I actually believe that Obamacare needs to be replaced with something much more effective where we have a health care law that protects people with pre-existing conditions, because I'm fully committed to protecting those with pre-existing conditions. And for those of you who didn't hear earlier, I've been through Lyme disease. I've been through parasites, which was very difficult in my life. And so I understand what it's like to be down now and have a tough time. And I'm committed to protecting those who are weak and defenseless and going through those tough times with pre-existing conditions. But then also, we need to make sure we cut all the red tape that makes it harder for doctors to serve people. We need to make sure we cut all the red tape that puts small practices out of business. Think about that. We always want to support the little, the quote-unquote little guy or the little practices, but Obamacare put those out of business. And that's very, very sad. And so we need to make sure we have policies in a new healthcare law that support those small practices, and as well as increasing competition across state lines, increasing competition with drug prices, increasing transparency and accountability of pharmacy benefit managers to lower drug prices. We want to make sure we streamline that drug approval process so that it's quicker but still effective and safe, so that we can then go ahead and lower the cost of prescription drugs. And there's a number of other things, but again, I can't tell you how many times Tanya, that I've talked with doctors, and they communicate to me how there are times where they actually don't have the ability to do all the things they want to do to benefit patients because of the red tape that exists in Obamacare. And think about that for a second. Let's just pause for a second. What is healthcare law supposed to be about? Healthcare law is supposed to be about healthcare.
Healthcare,
right?
yeah.
It's supposed to accomplish that goal. So if you have a law that puts small practices out of business and increases prices and makes it harder for people to get services, and makes it harder for them to see their doctor, and makes it harder for them to purchase life-saving drugs, and makes it harder to accomplish healthcare, then what do you have? You have a law that is not accomplishing its goal, and that's why the Unaffordable Care Act, as I call it, otherwise known as Obamacare, that's why it needs to be replaced with something much more effective. So that we're accomplishing that, but also doing that within a free market system to increase competition, which lowers prices, and gives people freedom to purchase the health care that they need, and gives them the freedom to see the doctors that they need, and gives them the freedom to go ahead and do what's best and helpful for them, so that we have a healthy nation. Because I think having a healthy nation is extremely important.
Okay, I have someone in the chat box asking, so what do you think about the coronavirus?
Yeah, so I think right now, what I'm very thankful, first off, actually, I would switch gears here. I would say, first off, I'm very sorry for anyone who's been affected by that virus. I'm very, incredibly grieved.
Jerry, 1 second. Now, do you believe it's really, because they do this every election year, the pandemic of different flus, like the MERS, SARS, Ebola. You know the chain reaction, how it goes. Now, we've had the flu for so many years. Every year season, we go through the flu. Last year, we had let's round it off to 60,000 deaths in the USA. This year, it's only been less than 100. The coronavirus.
Yeah. So what I would say is that, Teuton, is a few things. First off, I would say I'm so grieved and so sad by anyone who's been affected by it, or anyone who's potentially died from that. That's been very, very sad, and my heart goes out to all those people who have been negatively affected, or have been hurt, or lost a loved one because of that. And not only America, but also the rest of the world. So I'm very sorry, and God bless you, and condolences to you. The second thing I would say is that I really appreciate President Trump and Vice President Mike Pence and the amazing things that they're doing to go ahead and focus on making sure that America is protected from this virus, and making sure that America is helped, and we're doing all the measures that we need to do in order to protect America from some sort of large-scale attack or anything by this virus. And so I really appreciate the hard work that they put in and the measures President Trump has taken. That's very, very, very key and very crucial, and I appreciate that. Thirdly, we do understand that I have heard medical professionals say a number of things, and one thing that I've heard from other medical professionals is, while the coronavirus, it's sad that someone gets infected, or it's sad that if anyone passes away, if you look at it, the rate of someone passing away from the virus versus just getting it, the rate of them passing away is extremely small. I mean, I've seen different statistics, but I've seen maybe only 2%. And I've heard one doctor on TV actually just mention that, while the coronavirus is something that we want to seriously deal with, that really the only people that have passed away, while it's very sad, the only people that pass away are people that are already have tough situations with our immune system. They're susceptible to diseases that could kill them, whether it be the elderly or something like that. And right now, the rate of people passing away is actually not that concerning, but there's been a lot of media fervor and panicking
Lies.
that really, I think, brought fear to people's homes. And
Lies.
We need to make sure that the media does a good job and actually reports things honestly, to listen to health professionals and understand we don't need to be afraid of this. What we need to do is just go ahead and support the president and support the vice president, but also we need to go ahead and pray. I'm a Christian. I believe in prayer. I believe prayer does things, and we need to pray as well, and pray that people are protected from this, and then make sure we continue to live life without fear, and we take the necessary measures to go ahead and stop that virus and anything that might affect people.
Now, okay, I have this Lysol Lysol wipes. I had bought them last summer, not 2019, but 2018. So they still work, okay? On the back of it says human coronavirus. Now, I find that very convenient. It kind of meshes in with the coronavirus that's currently going on. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not familiar because I haven't seen that, and I'm not familiar with the marketing and with what that company is trying to do. But so I really can't explain that. Maybe it could potentially be. Maybe their logic is that they want people to know that those lights can actually kill that virus. I'm not sure. That could be their philosophy, but again, I have not, talked with any members of the company, and I'm not really privy to why they chose to do that.
And another thing, my friend in Kansas, Ryan, in his state, he lives in Wichita.
Yep.
All the face masks, they're all sold out. That's something just like really, I don't know. It's just. Why?
I'm not really familiar. I know that they've been sold out, so I'm not really familiar with those supply chains that are involved with.
Yeah, I know.
But I know that doctors. I've heard doctors and medical professionals saying, "Hey, you know what? You really probably don't need to do that." That's what I've heard other professionals say. So again, I've just heard people say, "Hey, you don't necessarily really need to go ahead and be buying those and be focusing on having a strong immune system, as well as making sure we support every measure to wash our hands and keep life clean, so we prevent any spread of this virus."
So before the coronavirus hit the news, like a week before it hit the news, me and my husband came home with the flu. He got it from the taxi he was taking, and there was another passenger in the taxi. He got the flu. Then he gave it to me. We both got the flu. We went to see the doctor, and the doctor prescribed us.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. The doctor prescribed us vitamin D to take it once a week. So this was before the coronavirus hit the news. This is what agitates me. We had the flu, and we were prescribed vitamin D. That as soon as we started taking our meds, everything, the flu virus disappeared like within a couple days from him, because he has a kind of weaker system because he has high blood pressure. I don't have anything, so it disappeared from me like within a day or two. This just really gets me. Why wouldn't my doctor just prescribe me vitamin D before the coronavirus hit the news? Did the doctor know something about it?
I'm not familiar with your doctor, what your doctor said, but I think
I know.
What's important for us to remember is that.
Out in general.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just putting this out in general. How would the doctors know about this before it hit the news?
Unfortunately, I can't speak for that doctor. I can't speak for other medical professionals regarding, the timing of specific things. But I think it's important that we need to focus on just making sure that we're all following good practices with washing our hands. We're making sure we have strong immune systems.
Yes.
And doing things that make sure our bodies are strong, as well as making sure we support the president and amidst trying to stop any spread of the virus, as well as, again, I think along with doing all the right practical things and fighting against this virus, we need to also pray. Because I think it's also a wise thing, and I do believe that.
Yeah, just a message I want to put out. Get a lot of OJ in you, calcium if you're lactose intolerant. Take the calcium pills. Get a lot of vitamin D in you. Make sure you keep up on your vitamins. Eat healthy, 4 food groups. Stay healthy. Right?
Yep.
So.
Sounds like some good things.
So, a question. What is your thoughts on fake news?
Tanya, don't get me started.
Come on, you're free. Freedom of speech. You're free to say whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's what I would say. First off, I am fully committed to the First Amendment. I'm fully committed to freedom of speech. I'm fully committed to people going out there and seeking to speak their mind and speak their thoughts and give their opinions, as well as I'm fully committed to a free press. I believe a free press is essential to a free and a healthy society. And so I love free press, and I really support free press. So now let's hit the other aspect of this issue. Let's hit the other side of the coin. Is that right now, I would say that the quality of the press, or quality of certain journalists, or quality of certain news outlets is often very low and very poor in a number of ways. And that there's a lot of poor journalism that's done, where people will misreport something, or they will not give the full context of a story, or they will not give a headline that actually makes sense with the story, or they will say a headline or start saying something in a story that actually is not backed up by the evidence. So what we have is just a lot of poor and shoddy and ineffective journalism that unfortunately misleads people. And so, because I believe in the First Amendment, and I believe that everyone in America has the opportunity and should have the right to go ahead and critique anything they want to, it is very fair for us citizens and us Americans to be critiquing our media networks for just doing a poor job and actually giving us good news. And so there is news out there that is poor, or there's some news out there that you would say is potentially fake just because it's not helpful, it does not give full context, it is not accurate, the title does not line up with the evidence in the story, and then sometimes a journalist will make a mistake. They'll make a mistake, but they want to apologize for it, so you never know. And you know what? That is disrespectful and is dishonest to Americans to be putting stories out there that are actually not healthy and helpful, because then what happens is Americans then unfortunately become misinformed because of poor journalism. And so right now I really believe, and I would say this, in the same way that, I have a small business.
Yeah.
And as a music school, and we're very successful. We do a very, very good job, with what we do. We've got great ratings on Facebook and Google+.
Yes.
But you know what? One thing that's really important is that if someone, didn't like my business, they can go ahead and call us, and they could be honest with us. Or if they didn't like something, or they could go on, and give some sort of rating, or do this or do that. And they have a freedom to do that. In the same way that us Americans, we have the right to go ahead and critique journalists. We have the right to critique the news organizations. We have the right to critique some members of the free press that we have. And if someone is giving news that is incorrect or false or misleading or lacking context or just improper or not helpful or not responsible, then we need to be critiquing those news organizations and saying, hey, your news is wrong, it's poor, or there's some news that are fake, or some stories that are fake, or it's just completely off base, and that's fair for us. And so if a politician or the president or any U.S. citizen wants to critique certain aspects of journalism, that's okay. That's allowed, and that's free in America. And I support people challenging news organizations and challenging news organizations when they're wrong. And I think we need to continue to do that, to go ahead and hold our news organizations accountable, keeping them honest, and then also just turning them off and not listening to them anymore, so that they lose business and they start waking up that they're doing the wrong things, and if they are doing the wrong things. So I believe that there's bad journalism out there. Bad journalism out there.
Yes.
I believe that there can be bad journalists out there. I believe that there can be bad stories out there. I believe that there can be bad news organizations out there, and at times there's also fake news out there. And we need to go ahead and speak up. Stop listening to voices in the media that are saying the wrong things, and not only stop listening to them, but also go ahead and be honest and critique them, so that people wake up and get held accountable for their poor professionalism if they ever do wrong things as members of the media.
Now, before we get to the all important questions, I want to make a statement. So Trump always calls, when Trump's doing his press conferences and stuff, Trump always calls CNN fake news. Well, we know that. Turn off CNN. And then, do you ever watch Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, or Judge Jeanine, or anybody on Fox?
I've definitely seen the Judge Jeanine show and the Hannity show and Laura Ingraham,
I love Hannity.
Obviously Bret Baier, and a number of other shows on Fox News. Yes.
Hannity just pumps you up with what he says, because he always puts out the truth.
Hannity definitely says a lot of good things, and I appreciate some of the things that he exposes, and some of the stories that he can run that actually can help people and bring light to situations that need to be brought light to.
Like the Russiagate, impeach Trump, like just those examples. The Joe Biden Ukraine thing. What's your thoughts on Joe Biden Ukraine?
Yeah, I think first off, what I would say is that if I could go ahead and comment on Hunter Biden. What we have is a very, very questionable dealings that Hunter Biden had in Ukraine. Hunter Biden did not have experience in specific industries, but all of a sudden he's hired and paid tremendously large amounts of money. I mean, I've heard a number. I think it might maybe $183,000 a month potentially. Someone can go ahead and double check that to verify that. But
Yes, it
I
is.
think I may have read that somewhere. But he had been paid exorbitant amounts of money to work in a Ukrainian company, and even though he had no experience in those areas. And then what you do is you see that there was a prosecutor in Ukraine. And by the way, Ukraine has had a history of corruption. Even President Obama,
Yes.
behind the scenes, had concerns and vocalized concerns about the corruption in Ukraine.
Yeah.
That is an important thing. And so the concern about corruption in Ukraine was not something that started with President Donald J. Trump. It actually started in earlier administrations. And so I would just say we got to remember that. So President Donald J. Trump was not starting something new. There was concern about that. But then you have
One second. I was watching the Bush 41 State of the Union speech in 1991. He mentioned Ukraine, and I think it began since then. Probably before that. I'm not sure, but when I was listening and I was fact-checking, researching that, because that's what I do. I research stuff. And 1991, what George Bush mentioned it in his State of the Union.
Yeah, sure. So, Ukraine has had a history of problems and corruption. And so when you see Hunter Biden on this company, and then you see a prosecutor in Ukraine wanting to investigate the company Hunter Biden's part of, and then Joe Biden goes on record in front of a lot of people on TV that's recorded, and he basically, this is not an exact quotation, you can double check the quotation, but this is the best basic idea of what Joe Biden said, is that you listen to him and he said, hey, he called Ukraine and said, hey, if you don't fire this prosecutor, then you're not getting specific aid.
You're not getting $1 billion.
That is a pretty crazy quid pro quo that sounds a little off base to me. But specifically, it's concerning because that's the prosecutor who's investigating a company that was investigating his son. And so that's very concerning. And so there are concerning dealings the Bidens had in Ukraine. What Joe Biden did, just again, is concerning. Because you wonder what were his intentions. We don't know what was going on, but was he trying to protect his son from investigation? And that's why he did that. I don't exactly know all the answers, but it does sound very questionable. So I think that the Bidens have a lot of questions to answer and a lot of things to come clean with, and specifically to find out what happened in Ukraine.
Now,
but in the end, those are my quick thoughts for you on Joe Biden and Hunter Biden and what was happening.
Do you listen to Rudy Giuliani's Common Sense show? It's on YouTube. Rudy Giuliani has a Common Sense show. He discusses everything about Ukraine, and his interviews with Pizzenko, whatever his name is. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce their names, but he interviewed a couple of the guys from the Ukraine investigation, and Rudy Giuliani is pretty good. What do you think about Rudy Giuliani?
So, I really can't speak too much on Rudy Giuliani. I know that he was, trying to get specific information, and some of his information may have been accurate, some of it may have not been accurate. And so what I would say is I think he did a lot of good things for the city of New York, when he was mayor there.
9/11.
But again, there may have been some accurate or inaccurate information that he may have had regarding Ukraine. But I really can't comment on all the specific things except for just saying, hey, he was a mayor of New York and he did some good things for the city of New York.
But what I suggest for you and everybody who's listening, go watch Rudy W. Giuliani Common Sense on YouTube. I'll send you links. So let's get back on Illinois and your run. So what is your thoughts on Governor Pritzker?
So I think Governor Pritzker is pursuing a lot of destructive policies that are going to hurt the state and have already hurt the state. Mm-hmm. So he was very much behind a gas tax that raised gas taxes, and that raised taxes on everybody, including the poor. And I think the last thing we need is another tax on the poor. And so on top of that, I know he was supporting some sort of progressive tax, which again is, as the state of Illinois is losing a lot of people every year, that's going to cause us to lose more people from our state. On top of that, he's supporting policies that would mandate specific types of, specific type of legislation that would affect schools negatively. He's pursuing higher tax policies. He's pursuing policies, and it seems to be potentially okay with certain laws being put forth that would mandate specific vaccines and take away parental rights, and a number of other things. And it's concerning that he's not speaking out against those things. And obviously we know Governor Pritzker had some concerning dealings or concerning conversations with former Governor Rod Blagojevich when Pritzker had called Blagojevich and was trying to see if he could be nominated for that Senate seat that Barack Obama had vacated when he was president. You know, again, it was a concerning conversation that we all have on tape. And so there's definitely concerns about Pritzker's integrity, and there's concerns about, definitely a lot of concerns about his policies, and I think that Pritzker needs to be voted out in 2022.
Since President Trump released Rod Blagojevich, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so what I would say is Rod Blagojevich did a number of wrong things. He had a lot of problems with corruption, had a lot of problems with misuse of his office for his own personal gain, and that is wrong. That's wrong, but it's also immoral. And Rod Blagojevich was sentenced, I believe, to about 14 years in prison, and that was a healthy judgment for his crimes. And I know sometimes because of good behavior, you can really be released a little bit early based upon specific rules. But he had a 14-year sentence. He served 8 of those years. And while it seemed like he may have potentially had good behavior in jail, what I would say is I think his initial punishment of 14 years was a fair punishment. So I am 100% behind the president, but this is the decision to commute his sentence as one of those things where I would see things differently, and I think Rod Blagojevich should have served his full sentence.
But I have a different opinion. My husband's parents' house was next to Rod Blagojevich's house. And back in the day when I knew Rod Blagojevich personally and his wife, he was a good man. So some of those things he was blamed for by Obama. Because Rod Blagojevich came out on Twitter against Obama recently, and he put out some facts on what Obama did to Rod Blagojevich. That's why Rod Blagojevich ended up serving those terms in jail.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand. I hear you on that one. So my position still stands, but I hear you on that.
Yeah, because Obama was a criminal. You know that. So let me ask you. Now, what are you going to do for the education system in Illinois?
Yeah, great question. So
Common Core.
In all honesty, states have specific levels of autonomy in regards to what they do here in Illinois. And obviously, I'm running for U.S. Congress.
Yes.
And I'm running for the 14th district again. For those of you who may have joined a little bit later on, but I'm Jerry Evans. I'm running for U.S. Congress to defeat Lauren Underwood, who has, I believe, the second most liberal or progressivist voting record in all of Congress right now. And also, Lauren Underwood, by the way, last week she actually did vote against protecting abortion survivors who are born alive during an abortion procedure, and that is sickening. And so I very much am looking forward to focusing on defeating her and bringing a pro-life message to Congress. But I think that at a state level, in terms of education, there are certain things that I would not be able to affect from U.S. Congress because states have certain levels of autonomy. But I would say that a number of things that they're pursuing, just with high property taxes and just weird systems of redistribution, as well as mandating certain trying to mandate specific vaccines and taking away parental rights, and trying to mandate specific curriculum that that they shouldn't mandate, and a number of other things. I really think that Illinois has a lot of problems, and what I would like to do from a national level is this. I would like to focus on making sure that President Trump is supported as he seeks to support our Department of Education, but also on top of that, I want to make sure that we support parental rights and freedom of choice, so that parents have the freedom to go ahead and send their kids to private school, or send their kids to maybe trade schools, or or homeschool their kids, or even for me, part of my childhood, part of my schooling was as a homeschooler. And so that was something that was very beneficial for me and really helped me in tremendous ways. And I think that we want to make sure the parents have rights to do that. So the parents are ultimately the ones deciding how their kids are raised, and the state is not the one in charge of deciding what every kid believes, and the state is not in charge of deciding what every kid always learns. So we need to make sure that the core unit that affects America is the family unit. It's not the state. The state shouldn't be in charge. And we want to make sure we're empowering families and empowering parents to go ahead and be the parents and raise the kids the way that they should be, especially at an educational level.
Now, with me and you growing up around the same time, I prefer that education system compared to today's education system.
Yeah, sure. I hear you.
We need to take it back to the 80s, 90s education system. Not get rid of this new Common Core crap. Excuse my language.
Yeah, I think Common Core is a mistake. And again, we need to make sure we're giving rights back to the states, so that states and communities can decide what's best for them. And again, we need to avoid the concept of more and more government control over education. We need to make sure that the families, the mothers and fathers, and communities are empowered do what's best for their students and best for their kids, so that the government can go ahead and remain out of that, and parents can successfully raise their kids the way they feel is best.
Now let's get into some fun questions.
Yeah.
We're almost to the ending of the interview. So, do you have any favorite people in DC right now?
I'm going to give you a couple answers here. So the first thing that I appreciate is actually, I've got a sister and brother-in-law in DC, and I've also got a brother-in-law as well as his wife in DC. And
Really?
so I love my family, and I'm appreciative, whenever I'm in the DC area to be able to visit them, as well as, in DC, I really appreciate, the stands, the strong stands that, certain politicians will take to go ahead and make America better. I think Lindsey Graham will oftentimes show leadership on certain areas and support the president, and I appreciate senators like Marco Rubio, who will speak very articulately, who really will care about the good of America and the good of his state. And so, I appreciate the leadership of people like that. So those are maybe some quick answers for you on that.
I like Ted Cruz and Jim Jordan, Mark Meadows, and Doug Collins, and a couple others.
Yeah, and actually, I'm glad you mentioned some of those other guys, but I think one guy that you mentioned right there that really stands out is Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan is really a strong.
Of course.
Now, Jim Jordan, in terms of his congressional record, has been has done a lot of great things in Congress, and has done a great job, especially in the impeachment proceedings, challenging just a lot of the problems that the Democrats brought up and tried to bring in that impeachment proceeding. And by the way, the impeachment proceeding was a sham.
Mm-hmm.
The president should have never been impeached in the House. I'm glad he was acquitted. I would have voted against impeachment. Just to make sure I'm very clear. I know I've told everyone that I'm a strong supporter of the president, but along with being a strong supporter of the president, I would have voted against impeachment. I think the impeachment process was a sham, and it was based upon partisan politics, and was very much against what our founding fathers would have wanted. And the impeachment process politicized impeachment instead of actually accomplishing something that was appropriate or helpful, because the impeachment process was not appropriate or helpful. The president should not have been impeached. But Jim Jordan, during that impeachment proceeding and committee, really did a great job challenging, witnesses or challenging arguments of the Democrats had brought forth, and I think what the job that he did during the impeachment proceedings was pretty noble.
Uh-huh. So, what do you do with your family on a weekend?
Yeah, good question. So, on a weekend, I think some things that we sometimes like to do. Sometimes we'll take a walk, or sometimes we'll take a trip and get some ice cream, or
fun.
Get some food. And
I want ice cream.
We'll just be at home and get a chance to go ahead and hang out with my wife and talk with her. Watch movies with her, and also my son. He just loves to just hang out with him, and he'll just bounce around and be energetic, or he'll play on his drum set. He's a drummer now. He's 20 months old. He's got a drum set, so he'll play with that.
So,
so we really, really appreciate having family time.
What's your favorite type of music?
Wow, it's really hard to say, because as a musician, I've gone through a lot of different phases with
Pick one you grew up on.
Music and certain things that I've enjoyed. And so what I would say, there are times where again, as a musician and a music teacher, I will teach a lot of different styles and a lot of different songs
Country, rap,
to people,
hip-hop.
And teach a lot of different songs to my students. And so the one thing I can say is that, there's times where I really get into certain elements of rock, and there's times where, get into certain elements of pop music and sometimes certain elements of Christian rock worship, or R&B, or you name it, or blues. And so it really can vary. But there's a lot of music that I really enjoy, and those are some of the styles that I sometimes listen to.
From my past till now, I've ever interviewed all types of music genres, from heavy, death, rock and roll, country, jazz, from all over the world. I mean, all over the world. I interview bands all over the world. So, music we went over, what you do with your family we went over. What's your favorite food?
So that's a great question. It's really, really hard to say. But, I think things I really enjoy, to be honest with you, I really enjoy burritos. Enjoy going to Chipotle. There's another place around the corner named Burrito Parrilla. My neighborhood that I enjoy going to. Very thankful for that. So burritos are fun, tacos are fun. And then I do enjoy, eating vegetables or salads or things like that. And also, by the way, one thing I love, especially recently, over the past year or two, is Burrito Parrilla has some great fried ice cream. It's phenomenal. So
nice.
Really love that.
I remember when I went to New York last year this time, the first thing I ate out there was Chipotle, which was not far from the Trump Tower where I was staying at.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I went to visit the Trump. Have you ever been to a Trump Tower in Chicago?
No, that's actually a great question. I'm trying to remember. I was actually about to say no, but maybe. I know I've been in the area, but I'm trying to remember if I've been inside. I don't remember. I don't think I have, but I may have.
I've been in there several times. I've been to the one in New York. Those are the only two I've been to. But I've been to a couple of Trump golf courses too. I just drove by them. I've been by the Mar-a-Lago. I'm not gonna say anything about that. But yeah, I've been by the Mar-a-Lago. It's pretty cool. That estate is beautiful.
Yeah, that's great.
So what's your favorite vacation spot with your family? Good
question. So, there's a number of places that we've been to. We, a couple of years ago, I had a friend of mine who got married in New Zealand, and got a chance to go to New Zealand to be in the wedding, which was really, really fun. And that was when Lisa, my wife, was still pregnant with our son Michael. So that was really wonderful to be there. And I know that for our third wedding anniversary, I was able to take Lisa on a special vacation. We were able to do a quick little trip to Hawaii, and I was able to go there for the first time, and so that was really a pleasure. And but then sometimes we like to go to Wisconsin. We have a friend who has a cabin up there, and we'll go there. And so Wisconsin really is a great place as well. And so there's a lot of other great places, but we're very thankful whenever we can get time away as a family and invest in each other.
From past traveling me and Dave did, my favorite place was to go to Pensacola, Florida, because of the white sand. Have you ever been to Graceland, visited Elvis Presley's house?
I do not think I have.
You need to go. You and your wife need to go, especially see the airplane. Oh my God, it's just the peacock furniture is just so beautiful there. You just experience the history and the past, and you probably can get some motivation for your music school from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like a great place.
I've heard artists, they got motivation from Elvis Presley's mansion or something like that in the past.
Yeah.
Another thing, what's your favorite drink? Non-alcoholic or alcoholic, either or?
That's a great question. For me, while I do drink alcohol, I don't drink it a ton. So sometimes my wife and I will share a glass of wine, maybe like a Cabernet or something like that. Yeah. But really, mostly I just drink either water or sometimes there's a drink I like to drink called Starbucks Refreshers, and I enjoy that. And so that's mainly what I'll drink is just non-alcoholic things, like Starbucks Refreshers, or maybe grab some hot chocolate or grab some tea or something like that.
Since you live in Illinois, have you ever eaten at a Middle Eastern restaurant?
Wow, it's a good question. I'm trying to remember.
Pita Inn, shish kebabs, gyros, anything like that?
I don't remember. There's one restaurant I'm remembering I was at, but I don't know if it was a Middle Eastern restaurant. So I cannot say for sure because I do not remember. It's possible, but I don't remember.
Have you ever had a gyro?
Pardon me?
Have you ever had a gyro?
A Euro?
Yeah, Euro. Yeah.
I believe I have. I believe I have. So had a Euro, and those can be good.
Now, if you look at the history, the Greeks say it's theirs. No, it's not. That's a lie right there. It goes way back before 7,000 BC. It comes from Mesopotamia. The Assyrians that speak Aramaic, the language of Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's my ethnicity. Just to let you know.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's great.
I am so glad to do this interview with you, Jerry Evans. You are so awesome for this 2-part interview. Someone in the audience is asking, what's your favorite color?
What's my favorite color? Hard to say. I like red and I like blue. So that's why you'll see, red and blue with my music school colors, and that's why you'll see, red and blue as well with my logo and colors for my campaign.
Nice. Another person asking, what's your favorite movie of all time?
Oh, man. That is a great question. So, favorite movie of all time?
Yeah.
It's hard to say. I would say one. So, it is really hard to say, but I'll give you a few things. I really enjoyed the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that very much, as well as I enjoyed the Bourne series.
Bourne?
I thought there were definitely some good things in that series, and I think Matt Damon is a really great actor, and so those are a couple of series that I really enjoyed. I'm sure there's other movies that I've really enjoyed and really appreciated, and actually there's one other movie with Brad Pitt called Moneyball. It was a great movie, really fascinating. I think it was very, very well done. I
like Godfather. What's your biggest pet peeve? Another person's asking.
I don't know if I necessarily have a biggest pet peeve, but I don't know if I really have a biggest pet peeve, but I think one thing that matters to me is really just being honest and telling the truth. And so if there's someone that goes out there who's not being honest and not telling the truth, whether that be in their personal life or on the campaign trail or anything like that, that is something that, I don't care for. So I don't think I would call that a pet peeve. But I do value honesty tremendously, and so that's why I'll link that into that conversation.
Another person's asking, dog or cat?
Pardon me?
Dog or cat?
Dog or cat?
Yeah.
So I know that whenever you answer this question, sometimes you get, you might make some people slightly annoyed at you, but I'm going to answer the question. So I'm more of a dog person.
That's cool. I like both animals. They're both furry. They both listen to you.
Yeah.
Cat, you gotta earn their trust. Dogs are easy, but they're your companions. They're both your companions. All pets are your companions, even if it's a bird. Final thing. What would you like to tell the people out there listening? You give your last words.
Yeah, so my last words are this. Again, my name is Jerry Evans. I'm running for U.S. Congress to defeat Lauren Underwood in the 14th District. So if you are in St. Charles or Geneva or Batavia or Warrenville, or if you're in Plainfield or Shorewood or, Oswego, Yorkville, Plano, Sandwich, or, places like Sugar Grove or Sycamore or Harvard or McHenry or Antioch or Wakanda, all these different cities. We have a very, very big district. We even have part of Gurnee. And we've got so many tremendous people and so many tremendous cities there. And it's really an honor to go ahead and even be part of this district with all the amazing people that we have. But for those of you in the 14th District, I really strongly believe that I'm the best candidate to go ahead and defeat Lauren Underwood. And what I would say is it would be an honor to have your vote on March 17th. And in fact, early voting has already started. So you can actually already go ahead and vote for me, and we'd be honored if you did that. We already know we have people voting for us with early voting, which is really amazing, as well as we have, we'd be honored to have your vote March 17th. But also, for those of you who are looking for a candidate that is best suited to go ahead and defeat Lauren Underwood, here's 3 or 4 things for you. First off, again, I'm a young millennial as a business outsider that has a strong record of accomplishment. And I'm actually the candidate in my race that is closest in age to Lauren Underwood. So I have the energy and the fresh ideas to go ahead and defeat her. Secondly, my values fit the district. So my First Amendment and Second Amendment values, my values to protect the unborn. My values to stop human trafficking and stop illegal immigration and fix the healthcare system and protect liberties and speech and support the president. Those values fit the district, whereas Congresswoman Underwood has a very radical voting record, and she voted to impeach the president, and she voted to not protect abortion-born alive survivors, and all those other different things. And her values do not fit the district, whereas my values do.